So one game that caught my attention yesterday from the Nintendo stuff was this one. It's the Final Fantasy Resonance, right? I want to watch this again, and I've seen that there is gameplay from this stuff. First of all, I'm a huge Final Fantasy, nerd, and I like turn-based. And I want to try this. And some of you told me that this game used to be an old gacha game that got shut down, and it got remade into a fully fledged game now. Guys, we are playing this when it's out. I want to genuinely try it out. It was called Final Fantsy Brave Exvius. So this is a rework of a shut down gacha game, right? That used to exist, and now they reworked it. They're gonna release it as a fully fledged game with all of the additions and all the characters included from other franchises as well, right? Bro, I want to play this. I genuinely like when Final Fantasy used to be turn-based. I don't like the new Final Fantasy games. Yeah, it's an offline version. This is like Chrono Trigger, but everything is added. So, imagine if a gacha game shut down, but one day it got released as an offline game with all of the characters, everything, right? That's how you should look at it. How old was this gacha game? Can somebody tell me, man?
Final Fantasy Resonance. Coming October 22nd.
We are playing this. We are playing this day one. It was like 10 years ago.
Heroes resonate across worlds.
Like it includes all of the characters almost from Final Fantasy. Bro, 14, Cloud, Lightning. I am more excited about this Final Fantasy than I was even excited about the last one, which is everything like action, combat, cinematic, story. You barely play the game. And here's the thing. IGN released gameplay, man. So we are gonna look through the gameplay as well, because I want to see how it plays. Final Fantasy franchise hasn't released a turn-based game in like a decade. Excluding Final Fantasy Tactics, it was like Final Fantasy 12 was a mix of turn-based and action. I think the last one was genuinely Final Fantasy 10, right? 12 was Vaughn with you go around, you can move and you need to wait to swing. Bro, it's a Ramu.
A turn-based HD 2D Final Fantasy, huh? It's hard to believe it's real. As someone who grew up on old-school Final Fantasy games and JRPGs, it's hard to believe I was able to play Final Fantasy Resonance for about 3 hours at Square Enix as part of an IGN exclusive.
I think the pixelated graphics just hold up.
4 and 6
the sprites,
when I was just
man.
5 years old, to the hundreds of hours I continued to happily invest in Final Fantasy 14 and everything in between. The series continues.
It's gonna be minus
shape me.
$50.
So to see it kind of horseshoe back around to its origins here in 2026 with turn-based combat and expressive pixel art for a full traditional style RPG, it's wild to see.
I mean, it's pixels, but it's like
sprite-like.
sprite-like.
Break down, but I'll preface this by saying, in a year packed with promising games, Final Fantasy Resonance is the one I'm looking forward to most.
Yeah, man, glaze it more, man.
To set things up a bit, Resonance is an adaptation of Brave Exvius, the Final Fantasy mobile game that shuttered in 2025, which had a 10-year run. Now,
so that gacha mobile game lasted for 10 years, and then it just got destroyed. But honestly speaking, I think Square Enix EOS, like every few months I hear that Square Enix EOS is another gacha game. They genuinely EOS like 7 gacha games in the last like 2 years. They EOS a gacha game every year because it's just genuinely IP slop.
You might be thinking, this is like how Octopath Traveler 0 was a revamp of the mobile game Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent.
JP is still in service, but global is finito.
This is not a port or even a remake of Brave Exvius, rather it serves as the narrative foundation with a whole new combat system and overworld. Its story has been tuned for a traditional RPG that's informed by Brave Exvius.
JP died as well last year.
Built from the ground up. It's got airships, chocobos, the summons you know and love, and an HD 2D art style that's more detailed than what we've seen before.
I'm gonna play this. I'm looking forward to this. Bro, it's a gacha game that
Resonance follows
EOS
the main
and got turned into
protagonist,
offline.
a good-natured knight from the kingdom of Grandshelt who has a complicated relationship with his father, who is also the king. And early on, his group of friends join
Is this
the
gonna
fight to
only be
protect the
mobile?
world's magic crystals from being destroyed by a big bad villain named Veritas of the Dark.
This has to
group
be on
includes
Steam as well,
characters like
right?
Laswell, a no-nonsense knight, and Rain's childhood
It's on
best
Steam?
friend, Lid, who's an aspiring master engineer following the footsteps of every Cid before
But the
her,
gacha
and
game
Fina,
was
an
specifically
amnesiac
only
who's a
mobile.
summoner tied to the crystals that
Bro, I
preserve
don't
the
care
world.
about the story,
It's
man.
got some real
Let's not spoil.
around the corner. The dungeon I completed had me tracking down Borin, a master engineer who Lid has an affinity for, since he's gone missing from Dwarf's Forge. The dwarves say he's been kidnapped, and you already know he's being taken for his talents and being coerced to do some mysterious evil deeds. This leads you into the overworld and eventually the Mobilis shipyard, a maze-like dungeon that has some light puzzles, story cutscenes, a timed escape sequence, and a sick boss fight against a mechanized drill while riding on a speeding freight train.
Got their weakness.
Even though this is all early on in the story,
Damn,
I
Ramu.
still got to see the depths of the combat system itself. Resonance does not use an ATB system and instead opts for a straight turn order displayed at the top of the screen. Enemies have
Oh,
a
yeah.
stagger meter that builds with each hit, and they take on more stagger damage when you hit their elemental weakness.
The original
Kind of like a
elemental
turn-based
weakness
twist on
game.
what we've seen in Final Fantasy 13 or 7 Remake. Elemental affinities are a huge part of combat, so having the breadth of elements covered in your party composition is important. But you're not just swapping in the right party members to cover this. Instead, you have what are called visions. You can think of these as personas from the Persona series, or
No, it's called
JoJo
Aeons,
stands that each
motherfucker.
character
Lock
can
in.
equip, all of which come with their own skill set to bring additional
Okay,
powers
Aeons are
to
summons,
each
pretty
party
much,
member.
but-
While many of the visions are original characters, one of the big appeals of Brave Exvius and ostensibly Resonance is that each mainline entry in Final Fantasy is represented by a star character who shows up as an equipable vision.
Damn, that's the ultimate animation. It's called
For example,
Espers.
Ishtola from Final Fantasy XIV is a vision who brings water and healing spells, while Cloud from Final Fantasy VII comes with a variety of thunder spells and hard-hitting physical attacks. They do not replace the movesets of party members who have them equipped, and instead add depth to what they're already capable of.
Nothing personnel. Kid.
So, in a battle, you should be aiming to stagger enemies because party members who stagger an enemy are granted an extra turn in a bonus phase. And if you stagger all the enemies, you then call upon one of the 4 visions equipped in your party to do an all-out attack style resonance attack to inflict a ton of damage or bring some much-needed support in tough situations. When you line up all the right spells and attacks along with staggering enemies and calling upon visions, battles can then snowball into a relentless series of big damage numbers flying off.
There were
Calling
like
upon
4 to
Visions
7
is
different
accompanied
types
by
of
these
same
bespoke
characters
CGI
of different version. It was nightmare for gacha. So wait. They would release one character, then they would release the same character later on that's power crept in a different version, and then Cloud would get re-released again, Cloud Form 2. Yeah, man, of course. It's Square Enix,
Kind of
man.
like the animations that play when using summons in older Final Fantasies, but I find them kind of awkward. Not because I don't think
Bro, if people think that the current day gachas in China are power crept after like, oh my god, my character got power crept after 1 year or 6 months. Bro, I think that the Japanese ones, they get power crept on a weekly basis, brother. It was
they look
crazy.
cool, but it creates this weird
Yeah, man,
uncanny
this
valley
week we are
between
releasing
stunning
this, but
CGI
next week
cinematics
it's
playing
cooked.
and the amazing
Your
pixel
character
art of
is
the
dead
actual
after 2
game.
weeks.
It feels out of place, but it's one of those things where you watch
Play
it the first few
FGO,
times and ultimately skip
PayPal
every
link
time
down
afterward.
in below.
However, the actual pixel art
Listen,
for
man,
Visions
I don't wanna
is
be homeless.
fantastic. Seeing their ethereal presence backing up each party member looks pretty sick, but also their in-engine animations bring them to life in a new way that you didn't get in their original games. In addition to Ishtola and Cloud, I saw the
Oh my god, Ishtola Cloud? Yo, the Final Fantasy
VI,
14
and Chantello
people
from
are
Final
already
Fantasy XI.
cooming
And I can't
out
wait
of
to
their
see the rest of the
mind.
series
They
stars
love their cat
manifest
girl.
as visions in Resonance. Another interesting twist to combat is that Fina is a true summoner, the only one who can call upon Espers to come into battle, making her a truly unique party member. While I was only able to use Siren from the start, the songstress who can heal
Bro,
and support
she
like
summoned
no
Ramuh.
other, I also got to recruit the lightning god Ramuh. In Resonance, you unlock new espers by finding them in optional dungeons and fighting them in a tough boss battle, like you see here, me fighting
Is this
Ramuh.
Switch exclusive? No,
They're
it's
tucked
also
away in
gonna be on
corners in the
Steam.
Overworld, and it's one of the ways it taps into that old school exploration. You'll want to do this not just because they look cool in combat, but because they deepen Fina's capabilities and can turn the tide when called into battle.
Yeah, it's already on
The same
Steam
goes for the
page.
visions from Final Fantasy's Legacy. You'll find these shrines in the Overworld and are treated to this dreamlike montage of scenes from the very Final Fantasy that vision is from. You're then asked to answer a series of questions related to the story of that character and their game before unlocking them as this kind of ode to the series. I'm not entirely sure how the answers affect
This
things,
is an
but it's a neat
interesting
little quiz
thing, man.
that contextualizes your answers to test your memory of the series.
Bro,
But
I
beware
just
of
want
spoilers
Final
if you haven't
Fantasy
played
to
them,
go
since
back
they
to
summarize the
turn-based.
story and show
I'm
scenes
sorry,
from those
but
games.
maybe
So,
I'm
a lot of this
unk.
game revolves around visions and strategically equipping them for battle.
But
Each
they are
one
just way
levels up
better. Maybe I just
individually
need to play
more you
the
use them
7
and have
remake.
progression tracks to unlock additional spells,
Okay.
attacks, and passive buffs.
They don't need to return to turn-based, but they need to give people that are used and I like Final Fantasy some kind of remakes like this or some kind of turn-based games. Because they put all of the money in now into just promoting like the new version action ones, right? The action combat Final Fantasies. Bro, they need to have like a 50-50. There are still a lot of people who really enjoy in like turn-based games. And like maybe bringing the turn-based gaming back a little bit, like one title, the new one, and then a side title, like a turn-based one, and stuff like that.
While every vision can be attached to any party member, there's some
Like, it's
clear
a fine
advantages to
balance,
finding
man.
a good pairing that can
People think
complement
that turn-based are like games that are dead. Nah, man. A lot of turn-based games are really popular, especially if you upgrade them to like 2026, into the modern era.
characters'
Like,
core
people love
abilities.
Fire Emblem.
A lot
Fire
of these
Emblem
mechanics
sells
sound
like
familiar, but if there's one entry to point
crazy.
to as inspiration, it's Final Fantasy V. In an interview I did with producer Keisuke Nakashima and director
Honkai Star Rail.
Hiroto
Honkai
Furuya,
Star Rail
which you
is
can
like
read
the
on
biggest
IGN.com,
turn-based
they frequently
on
pointed
phone
to
right
Final
now
Fantasy
in terms
V
of
as one of
gacha.
their personal favorites and how much they loved its job system.
Does anyone know how much Honkai Star Rail got Doom posted because people called it, oh man, this turn-based trash, it's gonna die. People are not interested in turn-based. And now Honkai Star Rail I think is even more popular than Genshin. I'm sorry to say, but it actually is most of the time.
These games
It's
share a
easy to
level of
play on the phone,
flexibility that
it's
I really
turn-based.
enjoy in RPGs, and I hope this leads to a deeper experience that evolves
But I like
beyond
this. I
simply
like that they
counting
are
for
bringing
elemental
back
affinities.
a game that EO West into a fully fledged offline game that includes
Now, as I
everything
said
and
at the top,
revamps it
I'm
into
looking forward to
standard.
Final Fantasy Resonance more than anything else this year so far. Not because I'm convinced that it lives up to the legacy, but because it's a fascinating move that many of us have been looking for. A turn-based Final Fantasy with slick HD 2D stylings. It's even got music with classic Final Fantasy leitmotifs and the whole Brave Exvius soundtrack, along with 33 new songs as well. Octopath Traveler has more or less taken up the mantle as the modern classic RPG, and if you know me, you know that I won't shut up about how much I adore Octopath 2 and Octopath 0. The Final Fantasy name comes with certain expectations, however, and not that I'm expecting it to hit me
Chocobo.
emotionally
Bro,
like
robotic
Octopath or the
chocobos.
mainline Final Fantasy games, but this idea of adapting stories from mobile games to a traditional format is so smart in preserving these stories and bringing them to an audience that wouldn't have experienced them otherwise. I mean, I'm devastated at the thought that I could have missed out on the story of Octopath Zero, and maybe Nier Reincarnation is due for the same treatment.
It's just a smart thing to do. Also, Square Enix, minus $50.
But hey, for now, Final Fantasy Resonance seems to be doing something that the series has needed for a while. It's got the sauce from the 3 hours I played, and I can't wait to play more when it launches on October 22nd this year for PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch 1 and 2.
Brother, all consoles. Hell yeah.
Infinity Drive!
And Steam. We are playing this, man.
For more on Final Fantasy Resonance, please check out my interview with the director and producer on IGN.com, and while you're
It's pretty good, man. I'm looking forward to this. I really am. I think they need to like bring back, but it's such a cool way. And I think everyone that played like Final Fantasy Exvius or whatever, imagine you are that guy that played this game like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, on your phone, you got invested in the gacha, you actually played it, and then one day at EOS, and now they bring it back as an offline game, fully featured game on all consoles where you just buy it and you get to experience everything. New characters, new music, and like just a revamped like everything. It's cool because one big thing in the gacha sphere is when a game EOS's, you can't ever pick it up or play it. There is no offline. There is like all the stories, all the bosses, and everything that ever got written, it just ceases to exist, right? So I think it's pretty good. Also, Square Enix minus $50. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.